What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 190, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about that sweet Game Pass update for July. We're looking back at the best of Game Pass throughout 2024 so far. We also have some unfortunate layoffs to talk about, a remaster of a game you thought was long dead, and sad news for me. But before we get to that and more, I got to introduce my co-host, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. This is the week that I've been waiting for. I've talked about it, I think, 3 weeks in a row. But Southeast Game Exchange is coming up on Saturday, so I'm going to be driving down there and spending too much money on games that I probably don't need. But I mean, when else am I going to buy them in a convention center? So I've got to dive in.
When else are you gonna have the chance to get Kung Fu Chaos?
It's
You know what
true.
I'm
I
saying?
mean, that amongst so many other things. I mean, the possibilities are limitless. So I'm excited to check that out. I'm going to be doing a little video down there, not like anything huge, but I bought a new camera to kind of do like a vlog style thing, which I've never really
Sweet.
done before. But I'm like, hey, I'm going places, I'm doing things. Why not we go ahead and invest in it? So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to capturing some of the moment down there.
I like that. I like that. You know, as we've talked about, content creators we watch, I enjoy that style of content, so I'm looking forward to it, man. Show me off all the show me the deals. All right.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Well, the thing that kind of triggered me off is that I've been wanting I got a DJI Pocket or Osmo Pocket 3, like little small gimbal cam.
Mhm.
And I've been wanting one for a while, but whenever the Destiny hype was kind of happening about a month ago, I put out a video because I had been at the midnight release of Destiny 10 years ago.
Me too.
And so I like threw it into a short form format, but it was cool to have that moment in time because like once it's done, it's done. And so I want to capture more of that as in-person events are kind of dwindling down and it's more and more rare.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that I can kind of, I don't want to pretend like I'm some kind of historian or anything, but it's cool to like have those moments captured beyond just remembering you were there.
Now, listen, man. Sometimes when I just want to feel some emotions again, I Google Nintendo Direct live reacts in the Nintendo
Mhm.
store, and you just watch the people that sit in the back record all the people losing their minds. Oh man, it's wonderful bliss.
Yeah, it really is. Like this weekend, I'm excited. There's actually a Halo 2 tournament at Southeast Game Exchange, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to be one of the only people there recording the event happening in
Mhm.
real time, putting it out on the internet, and kind of like capturing that. So it's going to be cool to kind of catalog this weekend and give it a run. So I'm excited about that. But enough about me. How are you? What's going on with you?
I'm doing well. It's very hot again in New
Ah,
York. We're having not quite as hot as the 100-degree weather we had, but it's around 90 every day right now.
ooh.
So I know for you that's probably normal, but up here it gets a little rough.
Yeah, that is, tomorrow's high is 98, and then I've been
Oh
back on my
God.
AccuWeather thing of the real feel, and I went for a run last Saturday, and the real feel was 105, so that was just perfect. Love North Carolina this time of year.
It's horrible. Other than that, doing well. I'm excited for Friday. I get my hands on Trails Through Daybreak, which, if anyone knows me, is a very big deal for me. So I'm excited. Looking forward to a holiday tomorrow here. If you're wondering why we are live on Wednesday and not Thursday as usual, it's because Thursday in the United States is 4th of July. So we're taking that day off, gonna spend it with the loved ones and doing some I'm going to the water park, all right? I'm going down
Ooh,
some water slides. That's what I'm
yeah.
doing tomorrow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Yeah, that's a good time. I have not been to a water park in a long time. I'm doing a couple of cookouts throughout the week and then going down to Greenville on Saturday, like I said. So a little bit of travel, but
Mhm.
yeah, live it up, man. Enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enough about that. This is Project X Talk. You can usually catch us live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/save the game media. If it can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. So while you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review. It does help us in the algorithm. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to all Save the Game media content and exclusive bonus content like the host versus host trivia we're recording this weekend. Sam, didn't tell you about it because I knew you were gone. All right, you're not available this week. I told them, guys, hold up, Sam's not there, but
Sorry.
we're gonna go ahead. It's okay. I have another thing that I might rope you into that I've been talking with Sam Heaney about, little PlayStation versus Xbox
Okay.
kind
All
of
right.
thing.
All
So
right.
man, we might get you in somehow. But if you want to get all of that content, head over to patreon.com/save the game media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silkenet, and Ellery Woods Parker III. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now that we got that housekeeping out of the way, why don't we jump right into what have you been playing, Sam?
I put 2 games in the dock this week, and I will start off with the one that I've spent the most time with, and that is, as I said in the dock, Lords of the Fallen. But I've been playing a little Lords of the Fallen. It was added to Game Pass a couple of weeks ago. I know during the XEP community episode, some people were talking about it. I know Luke's been playing it on XEP as well. And I'm roughly about a little over 40 hours into it, so I am on
Wow.
the last section of the game. And I've heard the story is good. Couldn't tell you because I have not been paying attention to the plot whatsoever. But as far as Souls likes go, I think it's a good one. I think that I am also not the person to give that opinion because I'm not the hardcore Souls player. I'm getting more and more into them. But I love the dual universe, dual world mechanic that it's got with the lamp stuff and the little secrets you can find and the way that those worlds kind of mesh together. So I've really enjoyed my time with that. And there are moments where it has some challenge to it. I mean, it is not an easy Souls like by any means. Some bosses have definitely taken me 30 minutes, an hour to actually get through, so it has that element to it for sure.
Yeah, I was listening to Luke talk about it over on X. I can't remember if it was XEP proper or the community episode, but he was talking about how he got stuck on one of the bosses early on, kind of
Yeah.
stepped away from it, came back. They made the game harder, so you're getting the harder version.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just sounds like a skill issue. Honestly, we've talked about that with Shadow of the Erdtree, but no, there are definitely some challenging bosses there. And I think there are 2 things that I don't like about Lords of the Fallen, and it's number one, the difficulty is kind of artificial because it just throws tons of enemies at you.
Oh, I
Like,
hate that.
yeah, so it's not necessarily that the enemies are challenging. It's just that once you get in the loop of 2 enemies bashing you back and forth, you're just ping ponging between them and you can't really help yourself unless you figure out how to break that cycle somehow. And then the performance, it's still not great at certain
Ooh.
points. At certain points, it's still not great. Now, normally you're looking at 50 to 60 FPS consistently. There is one area late game. It's like a castle that's about to go over a bridge. I don't know exactly what the name of it is. I kid you not, man. It was a PowerPoint slideshow. It was like 8 frames a second. It is the lowest frame rate I have ever seen playing an Xbox game.
It's
Like,
more cinematic that way.
no, dude, this was like, I think instead of cinematic, it's educational because it literally looked like a PowerPoint. Like, it was horrible.
Oof.
So once you stop and you quit trying to move through the world, the frame rate kind of like, I think it's a bug where it just kicks up the frame rate again, and then you can kind of make your way out of it. But wow, like it was a frustrating little section of the game right there, but made it through it. It's fine. It's just one little area. So far, I'm having a good time with it. I'm definitely going to roll credits probably tomorrow, I would imagine.
Awesome.
So that's the main game that I've been playing.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm like I said last week, I'm loving everyone picking up Lords of the Fallen, talking about it. I love hearing about it. It's not a game that like I like hearing other people talk about games that I'm not going to play because it's like, oh, I can kind of experience without experiencing it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Because like, that is not a game for me. Lord knows that. And Sokanet hanging out with us in the chat says F ledges in Lords of the Fallen. What does that mean?
I mean, so there's this one area of the game that's kind of early on, but you go back to similar areas and that area later on, but it's kind of like a mountainside area. And so it's just these wood platforms that you run alongside and you make your way around the mountain as you make your way up it. And yeah, if you run into an enemy and they just come out of nowhere, like they're hiding in a wall, they can knock you off of the mountain and you die immediately. And then you get revived because it has this dual life mechanic to it. And so then you're down. It's almost like an only up kind of situation where you fall all the way down to
Oh,
this other area and you're like, oh my God, I've got to climb my way back. So there is that certain element to it.
oh, well, that doesn't sound fun at all. No, thank you. That's a
Yeah.
pass for me.
Yeah. I don't
See,
blame you.
I see another game on the docket here. What Mullet Mad Jack?
Yeah, so Mullet Mad Jack is a game that I mentioned, I think probably about a month ago.
Yeah, a while
Yeah,
ago, I think.
yeah, it's been about a month. So they reached out, they gave me a code, and they wanted me to try it out. And it was one of those games where they know that I was into first person shooters and I love Hotline Miami. And so I talked about it before, but it really is a fast paced arcade shooter with the same vibe, same energy of like a Hotline Miami. The gameplay is definitely not one to one, but I really, really have enjoyed my time with this. It is verified on Steam Deck, so it runs super well over there. I actually ended up finishing it on the main PC because some of the timing and stuff, it was just harder to nail on the
Mm-hmm.
Steam Deck. So I just went ahead and booted up the PC. But ultra wide support is gorgeous. Really, really standout indie. Probably my favorite indie that I've played this year, honestly.
Awesome. Well, that's there's some good indies this year. So
Yeah,
high
yeah,
praise, high praise. Yeah,
very good
that's one
game.
that's still on my Steam wish list. I actually didn't look if it was on sale right
It
now.
is, yeah. If anybody's interested, it is on sale for $16, so a couple of bucks
Okay.
off. I think it's like 20% somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
But worth every penny. I mean, it's got so the way that it's divided up is that you have 10 floors that you pass through, and so once you finish the first 9 floors, the 10th floor is like a boss level, and so there are I think 80 floors technically that you work your way through. So like 8 sets of 10, and it's not a super long game. You can probably finish it in 6 to 8 hours if you really grind through. But it's got an endless mode, lots of replayability. Really, really good game.
Listen, 80 floors ain't nothing. I played Persona 3 Reload this year. That had 360 something floors.
You're ready for Mullabat Jack,
Eh,
man. That's
I
that's
was
that's what I'm
I
hearing.
was ready to smash my Xbox playing that game. That's what I was ready to do.
So I see a very interesting game here that I never thought that I would see on your playlist. So tell me about Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah. So I was looking for something to play, but the friend group kind of weren't feeling FIFA. The game had kind of been screwing us lately. Definitely the game, not skill level, not us losing our cool or anything. And
Of
so
course,
looking
no.
looking for a game to co-op with my brother, and he was like, "What if we play Wolfenstein Youngblood?" And I was like, "I'm not opposed to it. Let's give it a go." So I downloaded that. He's playing through the cloud and we're only maybe 2 hours in. I don't think it's a very long game.
Mhm.
So we're in it. I gotta say though, the game isn't very good.
Ooh.
It's pretty ugly for one, like just graphics wise. Not a looker at all. And this was I think this is Machine Games and Arcane working
Yeah,
together.
Arcane Leon. Yeah.
Yeah. And that you can definitely tell it has some of their flair in there, which there are good like I don't think the gunplay is really all that good, which is always the case, unfortunately, when I deal with like arcane stuff. But I think the stealth mechanics, certainly from what I've played, of like I'm comparing this to Redfall. Okay, I haven't played Dishonored, so like when I go to Redfall,
Mm,
and then I'm like, oh, the stealth here is bad. The enemies react to you in this game. You sneak up behind people. You have like takedowns. I'm like, this is cool. When you start playing this game as a stealth game, it gets way better. Like I was enjoying it way more. You can like cloak yourself and like kill the Nazis. Like I have a hatchet. I just start hacking them. It's
very nice.
pretty nice that way. It's fun in co-op. It's frustrating because the way the levels work, like you seemingly take missions and you just kind of go to areas in the map and there will be multiple missions in the same area, but some of the missions are like way too high level for you to do, and you can
Mm,
trigger like those enemies with like skulls over their heads and they'll just come mess you up if you accidentally get too close to them, and there's really no way to get out of that until you just die. And so that's a little frustrating. Again, not a like what I would say is a good game, just mindless fun, just having some a romp running around. I don't know if we'll ever beat it. It was just something to play.
yeah, I get that. It's very interesting that your brother's playing through it in the cloud. How has he complained about any kind of cloud issues or like the gameplay being lackluster through streaming or anything?
No, he says occasionally like the textures will take a minute to load in, but like
Mhm.
other than that, it's been a pretty good cloud experience.
Yeah, very nice. That's cool. Yeah, I know that Wolfenstein Youngblood, I think, is one of those games that's always talked about of like developers were kind of forced into a trend of, hey, co-op games are hot right now. Let's make a Wolfenstein co-op game, and then they kind of got pushed in that direction. But I could be wrong on that. You can correct me in the chat if I'm
I
wrong there.
I don't believe this game was very well received. Yeah, it's a 67 on OpenCritic, so not very
Yeah.
well received. And probably the biggest like offensive thing in this game is the dialogue. It is so bad. It's like your play is two sisters, and they'll
Mhm.
just occasionally say the most cringy stuff, like "You go, girl," and like, "Oh, you're
No.
really kicking ass right now." I'm like, this is so annoying. Like, shut up.
Yeah, are these Blazkowicz's daughters? Is that what
Yes.
it is? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's what
Yeah.
I thought. Because I remember reading the plot and being like, "This is neat," and then I just never got around to playing it. I mean, it's in Game Pass, right?
Yeah. It is a Game Pass. Yep.
Yeah, I might have to give it a shot. I mean, I have a laundry list of games that I need to get back to. The least of which is not Bioshock Infinite. I still haven't played Bioshock Infinite, so that's probably next up on my playlist.
Probably play that one first before.
Yeah,
I'm not out here telling everyone you got to play Wolfenstein Youngblood.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And then I see you also have a redacted that you cannot
Yes.
share info on right now.
Yeah, I can't talk about this game. I will be able to talk about it next week, is what I will say. So stay tuned to the channel early next week, and you'll know what I'm going to talk about. But
Ooh.
other than that, I played a little more Kingdom Under Fire Crusaders, as I mentioned last week on the Steam sale, and I kind of stepped away from it because I hit the point where you go back to an old game and you realize, oh right, game developers hadn't figured out like checkpoints and like
Yep.
good save states yet. So like I did a whole mission, and it's like a RTS and then action combat game. So like I'm doing the real time strategy stuff takes a while. Like you gotta tell them go to this area, set up traps, and like move across the map at a very slow pace. So the missions can take probably 30 minutes plus.
Mhm.
Um, I was doing that. I was at the very end of the mission, and the mission for some reason, like I don't know how, but one of my troops got spotted. The whole mission went awry, and then like the whole thing was like stop the cargo van from escaping. And I was like, all right, just go kill him. And my troops could not catch him, so the end mission was me just chasing after the orcs as they ran to the woods.
Oh my
And then
god.
it said mission failed, and I was like, all right, I'm sure there's a checkpoint. Like I'm sure they'll just start me right over before they showed up. Nah, got to redo the whole mission. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah, I was looking through the Steam sale and talking about like antiquated games and stuff. There's the Star Wars Dark Forces, and then there's the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster. And then I know that we'll talk about Dead Rising as well. But one of the benefits they talk about with Dead Rising is that like improved autosave. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't think about the fact that, wow, autosave wasn't a thing, or even like cloud saves. I know we take that for advantage, or take advantage of that a lot, and take it for granted that like you can just kind of boot stuff up and it just kind of works. It's
Mm-hmm.
wild how far tech has come. So yeah, when you go back, you can really feel that you're going back a far way.
Yeah, yeah. It's like who thought that reverting you 20 minutes prior in a lot of games was like the way to do it. I'm sure it was like a memory thing. I'm sure there was a reason that they could only
Yeah.
do it at certain points, but even like you don't see that in modern games. The most modern game that I had like a frustrating checkpoint experience was Sonic Superstars last year,
Mm.
where one of the bosses, the encounter, you have to ride this little platform, and then you'll slowly like the platform will move and the camera will move so you can't move, and then you have to dodge like lava and lasers, and you do that for 5 minutes, and then the boss fight starts. And then if you die in the boss fight, you have to redo that whole section, and I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah, I mean that's almost like the two-phase bosses that I'm getting in Lords of the Fallen now, of like, okay, kill the first guy, then you get to the real guy, and then if you die to the second guy, then you got to go back to the first guy. Oh my god, just give me a checkpoint in between.
Yeah, yeah, not great. Game developers, glad you sorted that one out. But Sam, why don't we jump into the news? Admittedly, it is a lighter news week for Xbox topics, but we got some good stuff. So first up, the Game Pass update for July available right now. You can play Journey to the Savage Planet on Cloud Console PC. You can play Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 for Cloud Console and PC. July 9th, you get Cricket 24 for Cloud Console PC and the Case of the Golden Idol for Cloud Console PC. July 11th, you get Neon White for Cloud Console PC and Tachia for Cloud PC and Xbox Series X and S. July 16th, you get Magical Delicacy, Cloud Console and PC. And these weren't in the drop, but I do want to highlight them because we already know they're coming. On July 18th, you will get Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, and Dungeons of Hinterberg. And on July 19th, you get Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. We have a little more Game Pass stuff to talk about, but I just want to get initial reaction, Sam. How are we feeling about the first half and then a little of the second half for the July Game Pass drops?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I know that a lot of other people were more hot on it than I was. Now
Oh,
we talked about Neon White. We call it
Yes.
Neon White. I've been asking where Neon White is for, I think I've been asking for a year occasionally of like, we heard about this game. Where is this game on Xbox? I was going to buy it in the Steam sale. But lo and behold, here we are. It's finally coming out on July 11th. So this is one that's really exciting for me. Journey to the Savage Planet is one that I played at like I think I was playing it on New Year's Eve going into 2022. I'm pretty sure on Game Pass. So it's coming
Mm-hmm.
back for round two, but a very, very good game. Lots of good platforming there and pretty fun gunplay as well. But other than that, I mean, in the initial announcement we've got here going up to July 16th, nothing crazy. Second half of the month, lots of stuff that I'm like really looking at. I'm very excited about the second half personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just looking at it, like I already have Flintlock and Dungeons of Hinterberg pre-installed. I'm
Mm-hmm.
super pumped for both of those games. I just one's gonna be a little more, Souls light is what they call it. So I'm diving in, gonna deal with that. Dungeons of Hinterberg is like a action adventure with a social sim element. That's right up my alley. That looks really great as long as they fixed some of the technical problems that the demo had. But if we're just looking at the main drop, I was really high about this. I said in the Discord, I was like, this is a fire month. I said on Twitter, I was like, everyone go play Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. All right. Listen, all right. People don't believe me, but this game is probably the second best platform fighter after Smash Brothers. I know like the first one got clowned on because it was very like felt like an idea. All right. We made a game,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more of an idea. This is like the execution. They refined it. All the characters play really well. It has a good road light story mode. It made my top 5 last year. All right. That's how much I like this game. I got the 1,000% gamer score. So like everyone, please go check it out. Like it doesn't cost you anything if you got Game Pass, but if you're not into platform fighters, as you were saying, Neon White. We have been waiting, waiting. We were clowning it on the post show last week. If you're not over on Patreon, you didn't hear it, but we were going through the Steam Summer Sale, and Sam had Neon White in his cart ready to buy. And we were
Yeah.
like, it's coming to Game Pass eventually, though. Like, why don't you just wait?
Yep. So after that conversation, I dropped it from my cart because I think there was something that it was like listed early or like it popped up on the Xbox Marketplace or something on the back end. So I'm really, really glad to see this one finally coming because this was announced. I want to say it might have been Summer Game Showcase like 2021, 2022. It's been years.
Go.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, and I know everyone like playing on Switch, PC. I don't is it on PlayStation? I think it
Yeah,
might be on
it's on
PlayStation already.
PlayStation. Yeah, it's
Okay,
on Switch,
so
PlayStation, and
literally
PC.
everyone else has had this game, and I've heard nothing but good things. I got this one pre-installed too. I immediately when I saw this drop, I was like Xbox app, Neon White, loaded up on the console because like I don't know when I'm gonna get to it, but I want to like I need to know how good this game is for myself.
Yeah, and this feels like for me, it's one of those games where I don't know if it's the vibe or whatever, but it just feels like a good summer game for me. Like it just feels like it kind of fits that. Oh, there's a really special thing about the period of time between after July 4th and like the rest of July and August. Like that's like the meat of summer for me, and I love that time for gaming in particular. And so Neon White, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with. Flintlock Siege of Dawn, I'm all in. Like that's definitely going to be a day one pick up and play for me. I'm very, very excited about Siege of Dawn, especially coming off of something like Lords of the Fall, and I'm kind of in that Souls mood. And it was either Elden Ring or Flintlock, and I'm gonna go Flintlock because I don't hate myself. So I'm gonna check out that new one. And then, have you checked out the demo for Kunitsugami yet? I know there's a demo out there now.
I haven't checked out the demo. Something about the game, like I'm not saying it looks bad. I think it looks pretty good, and I think it has an interesting concept. Some hack and slash combined with a tower defense. I think
Mm-hmm.
like the art style looks really cool. Just something about it isn't drawing me to like you need to play this. I know Kyle, my brother, is in on this one. Like he's gonna play this. I told him, oh, the demo's up. If you want to try it? He's like, I got Game Pass. That's my demo. He's like, I don't need to try it.
Sure.
So like he's in on it. I've heard nothing but good things from the people that played it at Summer Game Fest, which speaking of Summer Game Fest, shout out Luke Lore for sending me this awesome Phantom Blade Zero.
Ooh,
It's got like cards and artwork and stuff inside. It's pretty dope.
very
Um,
sick.
yeah, tangent, but I've heard nothing but good things about Kunitsugami from the people that have touched it.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that one. I have the demo installed, I believe, and I want to give it a shot. I'll probably get to it this weekend because this is the one that caught my eye because I love like some hack and slash stuff. But then it, like you said, switches it up with some different types of gameplay. So I also know there's an Okami collaboration. I don't know
Yeah.
too much about it, but boy, let me tell you, love some Okami on the PS2. So anytime you mention the dog, I'm kind of in.
You get some like weapon skin, I think, for like the sword changes with the Okami collab, if I remember seeing correctly. They posted a video earlier today. Doesn't actually like affect the gameplay. It just is it's literally a visual thing.
Yeah, which I am totally cool with. Like, I definitely love me a good cosmetic. I've been playing Halo Infinite for 3 years. We all know I love a good cosmetic if I'm still playing that game. So I definitely want to try this one. And it'll also be a day one Game Pass for me. I was very impressed with this one when it was shown off last year.
Yeah, well, July's looking mighty good, and we don't even know the rest of the second half drop. Like we only know those 3 games that are coming in July. So in 2 weeks we'll know more, and these games drop right before I go on vacation. So maybe I'll
Ooh,
load them up on the ROG Ally here. You know what I'm saying?
very nice. Very nice. Exciting stuff.
All right. Well, we're not done with the Game Pass news because, according to Windows Central, more Activision published games could be headed to Microsoft's gaming subscription service. This is according to a report from leaker XTAS on the Xputer forums, which has leaked stuff. They've leaked the Hellblade release date. Like, this isn't just some random person. They indicate that the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy will be coming to Xbox Game Pass in August. Windows Central sources corroborate this information, meaning Xbox players look forward to embarking on adventures with the Wumpa seeking Bandicoot in a few weeks. Also, according to Xtasis, the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake and Spyro Reignited trilogy are coming very soon, though they can't confirm that these games will be in the same month.
Good news. I mean, I feel like at this point, the older Activision games are kind of like table stakes. Like we know these things are coming. Phil Spencer has said they're working on getting things and they're going to come in waves whenever they're ready. And we've seen these get updates on the back end of Xbox. I think that a couple of these have popped up on PC and the Xbox app as well. So clearly they're getting things ready on the back end. Obviously, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake, like more people playing, more chance we get another one. Like really pump that one up. I'm ready to see more Tony Hawk. Even though if you asked anybody on the street today under the age of 18 who Tony Hawk is, they probably wouldn't know. But that's beside the point. I'm not trying to make myself feel old. But yeah, these are great. I mean, give the Coot some love, give Spyro some love. I love to see these things potentially coming up on Game Pass for more people to enjoy. What do you think?
I am pumped about this. Finally, like this is what I've been asking for. I love the Insane trilogy, and obviously they just announced that it had hit 20 million copies sold. So everyone out there telling me my boy Crash, I'm pointing to the poster, my boy Crash is not relevant. All right, 20 million people disagree with you. Tony Hawk, obviously, great remakes. I have the remake on PlayStation. I think they gave it away as PS Plus one
Yeah, I think
month.
so.
I jumped in for a little bit and realized, wow, I am trash at this game. Like in something in my mind, I was just like, I'm gonna boot it up, and all the muscle memory of playing is gonna come back to me after 23 years of not touching the game. Didn't happen that way. I was horrible. I was like, not for me right now. All right, maybe one day, but not right now. I'm really most exciting thing on this is Spyro Reignited trilogy because I haven't played that. Like I don't remember the Spyro games nearly as well as the Crash Bandicoot games. Like those
Mhm.
are all way more familiar in my brain. Spyro is something like I would go to my cousin's house who had a PlayStation. And we're like, oh, I'm gonna play Spyro for a little bit, and it's just all like flying with the dragon, breathing fire. I don't actually know like the story and what actually happens in Spyro games. So I'm looking forward to playing that.
Yeah, that's one that I definitely want to pick up as well. I played a little bit of the Insane trilogy at a friend's house recently, and then obviously I played through Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake. I think I played through the entire remake for both. I definitely finished the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 remake, I believe. And I know if Logan's watching, he will check your achievements if you talk that you finished a game. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Sorry about that. But I know that I played through Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD like 3 times. I finished all the games. Like I've played a lot of Tony Hawk, so I think I'm good on that. I also own it on Xbox already, so if I want to go back, I totally can. But Spyro's one that I definitely want to play as well, because that's one that I played with my mom a lot whenever I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would play a ton of Spyro. That was always our thing on PS1. By the way, that loading screen on the PS1, absolutely too long. It was like 10 minutes. I will never get over that in my
PS1,
mind.
man.
I know, but it was like I was watching Spyro cruise for like 10 minutes. That boy needed to land. Those wings were tired. But I definitely want to go back and play these because I'm in the same boat where I don't really remember them that well, but I have fond memories of them. So I want to get back in there and see what's going on.
Ghostly Guides in the chat, who I believe is Ghost of Marsh, says, "What do you think Wumpa fruit tastes like?"
Ooh, it's got to be a mango, right?
I was gonna say peaches.
Interesting. You think that tastes like a peach?
Yeah, I was gonna say a peach. I don't know why.
Huh. I feel like it's a very mango looking thing to me, but I mean, that's fine. Go for peaches. Go for peaches.
I also don't like. Well, to be fair, I don't like peaches that much either, but I don't like mangoes.
Well, you might not like Wumpa fruit, whether it's peaches or mangoes.
That's true. That's true. Well, Sam Heaney writes in, says, reaching the halfway point of the year, Xbox has put out Hellblade, but still has many games for a stacked later half. With the sheer amount of titles still slated for 2024, amongst many third-party heavy hitters, do you fear the inevitable repeat of the shotgun blast approach could prove to be a problem for the individual success potential of each title if they're releasing on top of each other?
I think that there's always this risk, whenever you talk about anything, like we talk about Grand Theft Auto coming out next year and how companies are actively planning to get away from Grand Theft Auto because they're going to be totally, eclipsed by just how big that game is going to be. And I think that there is the potential for Xbox to have kind of that same issue where if Indiana Jones comes out in, let's just say, again, we don't know the release date, but like early December, late November, and Avowed happens to be in that same time frame, within 2 weeks of each other, because Xbox is such a Game Pass dependent ecosystem now, like so many people are checking out games through Game Pass, I could see a world where, yes, they kind of, whether it's people checking out Avowed and skipping Indie or doing Indie and skipping Avowed, one is going to take the back seat for some players. So it's just difficult because you can never really dial in on where the overlap is within that community. Like, are people that are going to be playing indie also looking forward to Avowed and vice versa? I know I am, but am I the minority? I don't know.
I think something that is harder to gauge. Well, it's harder to gauge, in my opinion, because of Game Pass. The overlap doesn't really matter when you have access, and jumping in costs nothing. Like, you don't even have to be that interested in Avowed or Indiana Jones. Like, try them and see if you like them. I pulled up here the Xbox Game Pass in 2024, and we're gonna go back and look at the highlights in a little bit here. But just coming up, we have 33 Immortals, and this is just Game Pass games. We have 33 Immortals dropping. Arc 2 is apparently supposed to come out this year. A big doubt on that one. Avowed. City Skylines 2. I'm looking at the big ones here. Frostpunk 2, which I know just got delayed a few weeks. We have Hollow Knight Silksong still supposed to come. Indiana Jones, as you mentioned, we're supposed to have replaced. The Altars, I know, has been getting some good coverage. Towerborn, and that's just to name a few. JamPackSam got kicked out of the stream for 1 second, but he's back now. So that is, we have a good list of bigger titles still to hit Game Pass, and that's not to mention things like Dragon Age, which has to fit in somewhere. Soccer 2 has a date which we didn't even mention. Yes, coming up. We are in July. So we got Creatures of Ava, Stalker 2, Ara History Untold, Call of Duty, Microsoft Flight Simulator. We have huge games still coming up, and they are right now kind of giving everything like at least a few weeks, but those to be determined dates. Like, I don't know where 33 Immortals fits into this and isn't overshadowed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the issues that anybody would be dealing with when you look at this list, even taking Game Pass out of the equation, is yes, 33 Immortals is one that's gotten time on the Xbox stage, but let's just say 33 Immortals comes out in the beginning of September. Stalker 2 is going to be the thing that's in the rotation of marketing more than likely. Like, that's going to be the thing that everybody's talking about for at least a couple of weeks. And so then after that, Frostpunk 2, I imagine, and the indie scene is going to be getting a lot of the attention. So where does 33 Immortals kind of fit into that? Again, we don't know what the release date of that one exactly is. But I think that the bigger games are always going to be there to eclipse whether it's Game Pass or not. But even looking at the list that we have here, because I know we're both looking at pure Xbox, I believe.
Yep.
Uh, in terms of like giant games, I think that the only big concerns that I have with Xbox kind of stepping on its own toes would be with Indie and with Avowed. I feel like those are the ones that are really going to have the potential to overlap. Maybe throwing like Starfield's expansion in there, but that's like a big maybe, just because that's going to be one that gets a lot of marketing push, I imagine, as well. So, and then obviously Call of Duty is its own beast. Like I don't even talk about that because that's going to be like the game of the year. That's your thing. So I don't think it's a huge concern, but it's something that they have to actively plan for and understand that there is going to be some overlap there where people are going to have to choose one or the other.
I honestly wish Call of Duty was coming out earlier, like beginning of October, because then we'd have like Stalker 2 at the start of September, Call of Duty start of October, Avowed could be start of November, and then Indie probably start of December is ideal situation. Because right now, like end of October is Call of Duty, and then rumor for Avowed is November 12th, which gives it what 2 weeks. Like that's really not that much for me to feel like confident that people are going to be like, oh, I'm done with Call of Duty, or I'm like, I'm good to set Call of Duty down. Like 2 weeks Call of Duty is not a very long time for the hardcore Call of Duty fan base.
Yeah. But now, admittedly, I don't think the hardcore Call of Duty fan base even knows what Avowed is, you know?
Fair point. Fair point.
Like, I think that if it is somebody that's kind of your Game Pass consumer like me, I'm not going to be grinding hundreds of hours of Black Ops 6. Probably not. I might. It could hook me. I don't know. But I know how Call of Duty is, and they go hard on nostalgia for the first month. And then they're like, hey, by the way, this Nicki Minaj skin just came out, and we're bringing back Shipment for the 15th time. And I'm like, well, I think I'm
great.
out. Shipment's good.
Real, you know?
Shipment's good, but I need new stuff. So I know that in Call of Duty world, I'm out after like month 2 of the multiplayer because it just gets too sweaty. Now, that being said, the campaign, probably 6 to 8 hours, maybe less, depending on how the reception is or how much time the dev spent on it. So in that case, somebody like me, yeah, I'll play through Call of Duty. I got plenty of time before Avowed comes out. But for the people that are like, you know, watching Tim the Tapman play Warzone on YouTube, you're not playing Avowed. Like 98% of you guys are not playing Avowed. So Xbox is not concerned about that at all.
That's completely fair points. Completely fair points. So I wanted, while we're on this Pure Xbox, shout out Pure Xbox, by the way, great site. If you're ever looking for news guides, achievement lists, go check them out. But I wanted to look back because I'm doing this for a reason. All right. One thing I've seen is every month, people the Game Pass drop hits, and everyone goes, "Oh, another bad month." And we see it with PlayStation 2. PS Plus drops out, another bad month. And to be fair, I've been guilty of being like, "Oh, it's a lackluster month for me," but I always try to preface it for me. I don't try to just put out blanket statements. Oh, it's a garbage month, because like someone out here is always excited for what they're putting out, even if it's not you. So I'm not gonna go through we don't have to go through every single game, but I want to go through and like, has Game Pass in 2024 so far, first half, 6 months, has it delivered what would we grade it? All right, we can just roll through the list, pick out the big games. So starting in January, I think first big one I see, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, jumping right out at me.
Yeah, and I would jump to Resident Evil 2. I mean, dude, Resident Evil 2 and Game Pass is that is the best thing you could ask for in January. Like, that is the perfect filler game to go back in the backlog. That was a huge win.
Pal World was also in January, and we know what a success that game was and continues to be for Xbox and the developers over there, Pocket Pair. I think currently it's like 140,000 concurrent, so it obviously didn't keep up the 2 million that it was hitting during the heyday, but those are very respectable numbers for a live service game. They continue to get support, like they continue to be pushed by Xbox. I think Pal World, while not like the big AAA game that everyone maybe thought, you can't ignore that has been a massive deal for Game Pass.
Oh yeah, it's been huge. I mean, that was the biggest win for Xbox in like the public conversation narrative for that 2 to 3 week period. The Pal World was really popping off because everybody was like, when is this coming to PlayStation? And I feel like in the Xbox world, if you're talking about narratives that you would rather have, having a game locked to your platform that's so good people are asking when it's coming somewhere else is like, okay, we've got something cool here that we have gotten a deal for. Now again, Pal World is coming to PlayStation soon. They've kind of teased
Yep.
that. Totally cool with that, do not care. But for that era of time, that moment in history, Xbox had a huge win. So I think that having it in Game Pass made it even more accessible and even more of a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else sticking out from January?
No, but I mean, like, I would just call out the fact that, like, you've got the smaller games in there, like Turn a Boy Robs a Bank, like Figment, like Close to the Sun. Like, these are games that, while you got these big beats of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Resident Evil 2 and Pal World, you've also got those smaller indies, and that love is kind of persistent through the entire list. Even looking at Brotato towards the end of the month on January 30th, that's your Vampire Survivor style kind of like dual thumbstick shooter. And so stuff like that is cool to see sprinkled in there as well.
February kicked off with Persona 3 Reload, which, while I don't think is our particularly good Persona game, like it's very dated, even though it's a remake, is a big deal for JRPG fans. I think this whole month had some good JRPG stuff in it. Look, February 20th, Tales of Arise, which was my game of the year 2021. Is that when that came out? So, like, I love the Tales series, obviously. It's my favorite series, but like, been waiting for that one to come into Game Pass. The fact it's there, that's a big win for JRPG fans on the Xbox platform. Dead Island 2 was the surprise drop into game. Like, we didn't have that in an announcement. Like, it randomly shadow dropped into the service. So like, I'm looking at February, I'm like, this is a very good month that delivered high quality games.
Yeah, totally. And I would also call out Resident Evil 3, again, following up Resident Evil 2. Bloodstained, another great one. You know, if you're into the Castlevania style stuff, seeing that in Game Pass is great. But one thing that I've always really enjoyed because of the EA Play integration is Madden NFL 24 right before the Super Bowl. Like, that's always been kind of one of those really good activations where even if you're a casual football fan like me, like I don't watch NFL games, everybody watches the Super Bowl. It's cool to be able to dive in. And they also had cloud support on the 27th as well. You can get in there and get a little bit of football action before the big game. So I like seeing that kind of support too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. People often overlook the EA Play sports games that are dropping. I know. I think NHL is on PS Plus for this month, and people were clowning on it. They're like, "Oh, a sports game." I'm like, that's a huge deal for a lot of like people. Like, that NHL playoffs literally just finished. Like, people are kind of hyped about hockey. Like, I know the Oilers didn't complete their comeback, but they almost had the greatest comeback in NHL history, from what I'm told. All right, I don't watch hockey.
Yeah, I don't watch hockey either, but I do like a good NHL game, which a couple of them are on Game Pass as well. But either way, yeah, the sports games in there are a great way to get the more mainstream audience to check it out. And especially when you're looking at more people that are picking up the Game Pass for Call of Duty, them being like, oh, sick, I've got all these sports games in here too. It's going to be a big win there.
March, kicking off with 40K Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun, which boomer shooter fans unite.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great game. Great game.
Killer game.
My personal taste, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, if you like them classic 3D platformers. But Control Ultimate Edition, obviously Control Regular Edition had been in Game Pass before, got replaced with the Ultimate Edition, which is just a better overall experience. Like, the performance is so much better. You get all the DLC, which like will tie into the Alan Wake 2 game. Like, Control Ultimate Edition is awesome. You also get things like The Quarry, which I think is a great super massive game, maybe their second, third best game that they've ever made. And then Evil West, that awesome double A, like, I don't want to be derogatory, but the bro shooter game for the Xbox console.
It is, yeah. It was definitely a bro shooter, and that's one of those examples of like Double A getting love on Game Pass. I would loop Lords of the Fallen in there too, even though we're not towards June yet. But on top of that, a couple of other call outs. Diablo 4, the biggest Game Pass game ever. Like, that was something that Matt Booty, or I believe it was Matt Booty or Rod Ferguson, one of the two. But it was a huge win for Game Pass, and it's something that kind of came at the perfect time where it got in Game Pass, established itself, and then Season 4 launched, and then everybody kind of came back and enjoyed Loot Reborn there. I finished the Game Pass, or the Battle Pass as well, but having more people in there is definitely going to be a big benefit for it. And then, of course, again, shout out for the sports game, MLB The Show 24, which, looking back 5 years ago, who would have thought that we are talking about a PlayStation game in Game Pass on day one being as big as it is?
Yearly.
So, Yeah, annual Game Pass game, which is huge. So March, I think, was one of the strongest months so far. From Warhammer starting it off to Control to Evil West to Diablo 4. I mean, those are huge games.
And I often think a lot of people discount Game Pass drops because they've played the game before. Like
Mhm.
I've played Control Ultimate Edition. I've played Evo West. Like there are games that I'll buy day one, and but when they come to Game Pass, I'm like, that's awesome. I'm doing that with Nickelodeon All Star Brawl. Like, tell everyone, go play this game. Like you now have access to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did the same thing with Diablo 4. I was there on day one for that.
Same.
Bolt Gun bought
Yeah.
last summer. Um, yeah, the more that people can play these games and enjoy them, the more the fan base can grow, and the more that these games are going to be able to flourish in the long run. And so I'm right there with you. Like, I don't get mad whenever I see Bolt Gun dropping into Game Pass. I'm happy that other people finally get to enjoy it without having to spend $20 or whatever it was to get it.
So far so good. First quarter looking really good for Game Pass in my opinion. I think April, just looking at the list of games, a little weaker for me, for my personal taste. This is what I would describe as the indie month, if I had to, because you get things like Little Gator Game, Bonnie Manor, Kona, Harold Halibut is thrown in there, another Crab's Treasure. But I think the big one is Star Wars Jedi Survivor through EA Play. Like that is the
Yeah.
biggest game to drop this month.
Yeah, April was definitely a lighter month. Jedi Survivor is a killer game. I played through another Crab's Treasure, a good one. I know fiance's been playing Ioun Chronicles 100 Heroes. She played through that through Game Pass. But the thing that I want to call out for April is that although it was kind of weaker for me in terms of new games that are like net new to my library that I would want to go back and play, this was the month that Fallout popped off, and all of the Fallout games are in Game
Mm-hmm.
Pass. And so while it might not be a brand new edition, it was good for people that had finished the show to dive into Fallout 76, to play Fallout 4, to play Fallout 3, all on Xbox in Game Pass. Like that was a huge deal, even though it wasn't something that was brand new. And then April 25th, you see the call out here of the free next gen update dropping for Fallout 4. So that was a big way to round out the month.
Yeah, such a good show, and it really like those games exploded. I don't remember the percentages, but it was something ridiculous, right? Like
Yeah, it was wild. Thousands of
thousands,
percentages.
yeah,
Yeah.
thousands of percentage increase. So good, no, very good point there, very good point. And I had in Chronicle wanted to like it, unfortunately, it wasn't for me.
Yeah. Apparently it gets better. I'm just saying,
That's,
if you want to go back.
listen, all right, I put 8 hours into it. How much more I got to put into it?
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel the same way about work sometimes, man. I get
eh.
it.
May, we're coming up. We're getting closer. Little Kitty, Big City, absolutely adored it. If it wasn't for one one achievement glitching, I'd have the 1,000 gamer score. I adored that. Like I know, even off of Game Pass, it sold really well. I think it hit over 100,000 copies sold in 3 days or something. It's only on I think PC, Xbox, and Switch. It's not even on PlayStation. So like they have a lot more room to sell that game when it finally does make it over there. Chancellor Sonar, heard really good things about. I know people love that, but like the big one, Senua Saga Hellblade 2. And I know we've talked about this game to death. We did a whole episode about it. I did a whole spoiler cast with the other Sam about it for 2 hours. I did my own review. Like we had a Hellblade 2 week here at Save the Game Media because like you can criticize it. It has faults. It's certainly not perfect, but like it is a big game for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean this was the Game Pass game for a lot of people, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it was one of those things where instead of spending $50 for this game that was 6 to 8 hours, or even 4 to 6 hours, if you're like really shoving your way through it, it is something to pick up, play, high quality, the best looking game I have ever seen on a
Mhm.
console. Like it is gorgeous. And yeah, it was a great win for Game Pass because it was just there ready on day one. And it was kind of the Xbox kickoff of saying, hey, here's this game you can buy, critically acclaimed, 9s out of 10s, basically across the board, 8 to 9 out of 10. But yeah, really enjoyed that one. And then beyond that, I know towards the end of the month, we got a couple of things I was excited about with Humanity, which I still have not played because I've been playing Lords of the Fallen and they both
Mhm.
dropped on the same day. So that's still on the list. But stronger month towards the end. But great to see stuff like that. And then, of course, shout out to Immortals of Avium getting
Shout
some
out.
love there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that brings us to June, where we got both Octopath Traveler games shadow dropped into Game Pass. The Callisto Protocol, Still Wakes the Deep, EA Sports FC 24 dropped in, and then that basically catches us up. So like June, I don't think was a very big month for Game Pass. I do think it was more of a, hey, we have our showcase this month. We're not going to need that like crazy Game Pass drop, but there are certainly things here that to get people excited. Like I'm a big defender of the Callisto Protocol, as you know. I haven't played Still Wakes the Deep. It's on the backlog list.
Yeah, I think that now, admittedly, I'm not trying to be too hypercritical here. Like you said, it was showcase month. I would have liked to see more drops during the showcase. Now, you don't want to condition people to
The
expect.
Activision one should have happened. Like, let's
Yeah,
be real.
like that's the thing, right? Like we can talk about how this is still a strong month. I mean, Octopath Traveler and Traveler 2 in there. Like that's nice to see on June 6th as well. But I would have loved to see, the Call of Duty drop like everybody had kind of predicted. Or like, we saw all these things of like, oh, servers are coming back online. Bugs have been fixed in old Call of Duty games. Like it's a really big deal. Yada, yada. Never happened. So I would have liked to see more. At the same time, again, how much can you possibly take with Game Pass? So like I've been playing Lords of the Fallen for better part of 2 weeks. It's been like the only thing I've been playing because I'm an adult with a job and responsibilities. Like I don't have time to like grind all these things. So it didn't bother me. What I like about Game Pass, and everybody has a different thing they like about Game Pass, is that things like Lords of the Fallen and the Callisto Protocol that people might have skipped over that are still good games, not perfect games by any means, but that are still good games, are able to get some time in the spotlight. And so I know right now, I guarantee more people are playing the Callisto Protocol than ever before. If you like it, buy the DLC. The zombie style mode is phenomenal. And then Lords of the Fallen, same thing. Like it came out towards the end of last year. Good game, just got overshadowed. And so if people are in the mood for something like Shadow of the Erdtree, but they don't want to spend the money for it, hey, Lords of the Fallen is here. Not to say that they're 1-to-1, but like that'll scratch that itch. I like having that kind of niche in Game Pass. I think that's where it kind of thrives a lot of the time.
Yeah, subscription services can give almost a second life to games that maybe didn't launch in the best state or got overlooked. Like I do think there is value in that.
Yeah, for sure. And then also shout out to Still Wakes the Deep. It's fine. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. But another good Game Pass game, one that I wouldn't have played otherwise, but that has value to it and has a good kind of art design and some good stuff that's admirable there as well.
So, Sam, has Game Pass for the first half been trash or?
No, it has not been trash. No, I think that it could have been stronger with the, confirmed not trash. I think it could have been stronger with like surprise drops along the way, like more Dead Island 2s, but even without that, I don't feel like I'm getting ripped off or that I need to cancel my subscription. I literally told you guys last week I re-upped until like March of next year or something with that deal. So yeah, I don't see any kind of reason to be upset about Game Pass. I think if anything, people should expand their palettes a little bit more and try new things because there's a lot to try out there.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think it's been a good first half of the year.
Yeah,
not
definitely.
great.
Good.
All right, Sam, that is our Game Pass discussion. 51 minutes into the show. It's okay. The next few items are pretty light, so we'll get through those quickly. Story number 2 is pretty short and sad, unfortunately. Surgent Studios has been hit with layoffs. They are the developers behind the EA original Tales of Kenzera Zhao. Layoffs will affect around a dozen people. We haven't been reporting on layoffs much, mainly because it's depressing and mainly because it's just happening so frequent. I did want to highlight this one just because like the head of the studio has been so active on social media, active on podcasts in our space, like promoting the game, talking about like the love and passion that went into this. I wanted to like this game more than I ultimately ended up liking it, but I do think there is quality there for people that like a Metroidvania. Just sucks to see that like even with a PS Plus deal and all the promotion that like it still isn't hitting the success metric.
Yeah, it's always a bummer to see this kind of thing, especially I know that everybody thinks about this game as the narrative with I believe it's the head of the studio, his dad was like the inspiration for a lot of the game. And it was kind of like an in memoriam style kind of thing. And it's just always a bummer to see this kind of stuff, especially in a time where people are having to be more selective with the games that they buy. I know we talk about that sometimes as well, where like, I can't spend money on everything. Like there are so many games coming out. You've got to be kind of selective. And for for me, unfortunately, in a world where Prince of Persia came out in January and kind of scratched that similar kind of itch and had the
Mhm.
same kind of art style in a lot of ways, I didn't really feel compelled to play this on day one. And so it's one that I'll play eventually, but it just didn't kind of come to the top of the pile for me. So I think a lot of people are in that situation. Doesn't speak to the quality of the studio or the developers or the narrative that they're telling or anything like that, but it's just the reality of the world we're living in right now.
And I last note, and then we can move on because I really don't want to get into this topic. But anyone commenting at people that worked at the studio saying this is what happens when you collaborate with Sweet Baby Inc., go screw yourselves. Like it's
Yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb. I have removed myself from that kind of zeitgeist a lot lately, and it's been very good.
Well,
But
it's just it's also rude. Like this person is like, oh, I lost my job, and they're like, ha ha, Sweet Baby strikes again. I'm like, have some compassion for a human being.
yeah, let me tell you, people on X aren't real. Like you're living in a fantasy land over there, in angry make believe world. Like I don't even know what's happening over there anymore. Yeah, treat people with respect and dignity. That's all I'd
Mhm.
ask for.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's talk about something a little more positive. Dead Rising Remaster. So Capcom has announced details about the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. The game will release on September 18th, 2024. The game will now run in 4K 60 FPS and is being built on the RE engine, coming with many quality of life improvements. Dead Rising has been dormant since 2016 with a lackluster release of Dead Rising 4. Sam, what's your history with Dead Rising and are you excited about it coming back?
I am excited about it coming back. So, my history with Dead Rising is not as deep as other people, I'm sure. Dead Rising 2 was the first game that I played in the series, and it was the first game that I ever rented from a Redbox overnight. If we remember, whenever Redbox had video games, you could rent them for $3 a night. And Dead Rising 2 had come out, it was launch day, swung by a Redbox. They had it, which was weird for me because I took a little DVD case out of a box and a Blu-ray disc was in it for PS3. But I enjoy these games. They're dumb. They're fun. Frank West is like the iconic kind of hero in these things, and so it's just a zany zombie game. I was very impressed with the side-by-side comparisons they showed off with this remaster because a lot of
Hmm.
the time you can get a remaster that doesn't really do much. Like it's just kind of like an upres. The Beyond Good and Evil 2 is a good example of that, where like the controls are slightly improved, better textures, but it's not like really remastered. This is one, like you said, rebuilt in RE engine, and a lot of the textures and just the look of the game feels more like a Resident Evil than it does a Dead Rising game, and so it really has a probably deeper immersion to it because of the higher quality graphics. So this will probably be a day one for me. The question is, day one digital or day one physical? With the way things are trending, probably day one digital. You know, I'm finally bending the knee and accepting my fate. But what about you? Is this doing anything for you?
The only experience I have with Dead Rising is some game came with a demo disc for I don't know if it was the original Dead Rising or Dead Rising 2, but like I've played the demo of Dead Rising a lot. And I thought it was fine. It was fun. It didn't really like, oh, I have to go play this game. But that was also when I was like a teenager and I didn't really have money to just go like, oh yeah, I'll pick up this game. You know,
Yeah.
I gotta trade in game. So I'm not like I'm not excited, but it is something I would like to try to kind of like fill a gap in my gaming history.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach it. Let me tell you, if you didn't like Dead Rising when you were a teenager, I doubt you're going to like it now because
Uh,
it's one of those, like, for me anyway, it's one of those, haha, especially with Dead Rising too. Like, I shoved fireworks in a leaf blower and, like, blew up a whole
okay.
bunch of zombies. Like, it's
Mhm.
dumb. Like, it's just stupid. And I love it for that. Like, it's great for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, knowing your taste, I don't know if you would like this, but I
Yeah.
would very much so like to see you try it and see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, this isn't I think it's $50, so a little pricey. I'm gonna
A little
hold
bit.
off. Maybe a deep sale or like a subscription service is right up my
Mhm.
alley for this game.
Yeah, I'll probably end up picking this one up because $50, like I know that I like it and I know that I would want to go back. And I've never played through the entire of the original, so this is a good chance for me to do that and kill those psychopaths. So that's going to be fun.
All right, Sam, our last story breaks my heart. Despite numerous hope raising reports from various insiders, I'm using air quotes, like Nate the Hate over the last few years, claiming that a new Banjo-Kazooie game was in development. Windows Central's Jez Corden has stated that this is not the case. On a recent Xbox 2+1 podcast, he states, quote, I don't know if never, but I can tell you right now, categorically, there is no Banjo game in development. It hurts to hear the truth sometimes, but I think this is kind of what I've always known to be true,
Yeah.
but didn't want to believe.
Yeah, it's this is I saw this headline and it was kind of like you should drink water daily. Like if that was a headline in the news, like scientists have had this breakthrough discovery, you need air to breathe. Like yeah, I think we've all kind of known that there's no Banjo coming. But I feel like that I don't think it's time to bring it back. Like I don't know if there's ever going to be a good time. Like it would be like if Sony brought back Jak and Daxter, and it's like we would be excited. That generation of people would be happy that it exists. But if you're talking about like what the company is now, like I just don't know if PlayStation's in that same space as they were 20 years ago. And so I feel like with Xbox, it's evolved past that to where we're talking about Diablo, we're talking about Call of Duty, we're talking about Halo and Forza and all these other big games. And then you're like, by the way, Banjo coming. It doesn't fit the bill. I feel like Ubisoft could learn from this as well with things like Beyond Good and Evil, where like, we talked about it in the post show last week, but like, brother, why are you bringing that back after 20 years? We don't need it. No one's asking for it. Why are you doing this? It's just weird.
We're on a anti Beyond Good and Evil podcast now. No, listen. As much as I want it to happen, as much as I point to things like the Crash Insane trilogy and Crash 4 and like those games having success, I realize that Crash Bandicoot, as much as I don't want to admit it, is a much more popular character than Banjo-Kazooie ever was. Banjo has two main games on the N64 and then Nuts and Bolts, which most people disregard. Like, he doesn't have the legacy. Like, you can't put together a Banjo trilogy and expect it to sell 20 million copies. Like, it's not going to happen. They have a few Game Boy games, I guess, like that are cool if you want to throw those on NSO. But like, in my heart, I hope eventually we get a new Banjo game. Like, I don't think this will be a first party team. Like, I can see Microsoft, like someone comes pitches them an idea, like, hey, we want to make a Banjo game. Okay, we'll sign a deal with you, like second party deal or whatever. I could maybe see that happening some point, but like, it does suck when multiple insiders, like I said, or have been like, oh yeah, greenlit in 2022, 2023, like they're working on it. It won't be shown for a while. And then everyone's like, that's not real. I don't know why people are saying that.
I love the idea though of like licensing it out to a smaller team. Like I always think about the Battletoads Delilah game that came out a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2018, 2019. And it was good. It was a different take on Battletoads. It was kind of like a side-scrolling beat 'em up kind of thing, and it was a fun time. I don't know why I clarified what a Battletoads game is. Like it's some kind of groundbreaking. Yeah, they're all side-scrolling beat 'em up games. But I would love to see more of that because things could continue living on and get more of a fandom behind them without being dormant just because you don't have a big studio working on them. Unfortunately, I would also loop Banjo in. Like, I feel like Banjo and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger probably hang out. Like, they probably know each other. And I know you hate to hear it. And they're right above like Tak and the Power of Juju in terms of like older game.
He had a TV show actually. So like,
that's what there was the Nickelodeon show, and they're on a different echelon. So unfortunately, I'm sorry for your loss.
I've never played the Tasmanian Tiger games. I see them on sale sometimes, so it's like I'll probably like those games, but
you would probably like it. I played them on PS2 way back in the day, and I know they got remasters recently. Which, hey, in a world where that exists, maybe Banjos could come back. I don't know. Keep the dream alive.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, that will do it for the news for this week. Why don't we round out the show with some listener questions? First up, we got Terabo writing in. It says, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy, and Black Myth Wukong allegedly are all full or timed exclusive to PlayStation. If Sony is still being aggressive in this approach, does it make sense for Xbox to bring Doom to PlayStation, an IP bigger than all those games I just listed?
Oh yeah, it definitely still makes sense to bring Doom to PlayStation because if you don't, like, number one, it's losing money, and number two, you're making enemies out of people that are already your friends. Like, th- I don't want to say the majority because I just always try to contextualize ideas because we're in these communities that are very tuned into the conversation and like the zeitgeist. But if Doom didn't come out on PlayStation, the people that had no idea that Xbox even owned Doom would be like,
Hmm.
yo, why isn't the new Doom on PlayStation? Meanwhile, like if they continue putting it out, they'll say like, "Oh, sick, new Doom. Here's $70. Have a good one." Like it just keeps the momentum going. Same thing with Call of Duty, where we're moving past the exclusivity window, and I think the PlayStation is the one where the longer they hang on to that, sure, they're still going to be able to earn some people that are going to be sticking to PlayStation because of the exclusives. But the only reason it's working is because they kind of have the upper hand in terms of like mind share and console share within this current split. So I think over time that strategy is changing, and we're seeing that right now by force with MLB The Show, but with things like Helldivers 2 and Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone on sale for $12.50 on PC. Like you're seeing them kind of come around and go multi-platform slowly but surely.
I really don't think keeping Doom exclusive would have benefited Xbox in any way. I don't think Doom is a console system seller. I know other people may disagree. I've never viewed Doom as like that big of it. Like it's not like, oh, I'm buying an Xbox for Halo big. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just not at that level. Doom is an awesome game. I'm super excited for the new one to come out, but all keeping Doom would have done is make people resent Xbox and their acquisitions more.
Mhm.
And I think they garner a lot more goodwill by putting it on PlayStation. They get a lot more money, and it falls under the category of those legacy titles that when they were acquired, they promised, hey, legacy titles that have a history on other platforms will still be there. And Doom certainly has a history on other platforms.
Yeah, and I also think that Xbox wants more of those wins like Phil had on stage where it was kind of like a dig at PlayStation where he was like, no timed exclusive betas, no timed
Hmm.
exclusive skins. You can play the game wherever you want, whenever you want, enjoy. I think that we need more of that and less of the kind of like console warring back and forth. So I think he's going to lean more into it and the company is going to lean more into it over time.
Yeah, they're really trying to make it them look like, hey, look how friendly we are to to all the consumers. Don't you want to be a part of this?
Yeah, yeah. Don't you want to be acquired?
And don't you want to be literally a part of this? All
Uh,
right. Ghostly March has the last write-in says, "Do you think Xbox needs to do more to get games from different markets such as China, India, etc.? Sony is doing their hero projects in these countries and obviously has a good working relationship with Korean and Chinese developers. Seems Xbox could also invest or try more. Thoughts?"
I think that it'll come with time as the company kind of gets more of a foothold because right now it's almost like, you can't throw stones in glass houses where if you're falling behind, and I use this in air quotes because like, you can look at a number of metrics and they're ahead in some ways, I'm sure. But if you're not dominating in the United States in a very competitive and like, overbearing way, I don't know if overbearing is the right word there, then I don't know if stretching yourself too thin and trying to like do world domination overnight is the best move. Instead, get really, really good at something domestically and then kind of expand internationally in a bigger way. And they might have been realizing that with stuff, like the closer of Tango Gameworks, where it was an international studio, the biggest one they really had, the most promising one, and they kind of pared that back based on leadership observations and that kind of thing. So I think they've really got to get their house in order before they
Mhm.
expand and start doing more internationally because right now they don't even have a full foothold here at home.
Yeah, this is a bit different than like the 360 generation where they were like, "Oh, we've locked down the American and
Hmm.
UK markets, right? Like those are our two biggest markets. We've locked them down. Let's go to Japan, get these 360 exclusive JRPGs." I think if they tried to do that today where they're going to other developers, I just don't see a world where the developer, I'm sure they would love the money, but does it really benefit someone in China or Japan or Korea that's trying to make more Eastern style games to be, say, exclusive to Xbox, where people uh, aren't as eager to play those types of games. Like I know it's a stereotype, but there is some truth behind it. Like yes, more JRPGs and Eastern games have been coming to the platform, and that's great. Like more fans have been playing Xbox and feeling good about that, but it is still very much an uphill battle for those types of games to succeed on this platform alone.
Yeah, I know this is probably not an apt comparison because there are definitely some historical, gaming fans in the audience, but I almost think about like Xbox in something like Japan the same way that I think about the Dreamcast in the United States back in the day, of like people love the Dreamcast. It had some killer games on it, but like it was not dominant
Ahead
during
of its time.
Yeah, it was not dominant during that platform, and so, or during that platform cycle. And so when you think about Xbox, like there are things that run better on Xbox. The First Descendant, I've heard, runs more smoothly on Xbox, for example, for a recent poll. But internationally, people are going to look back and be like, "Oh man, Xbox was ahead of its time with the Series X." Unfortunately, PS5 just dominated that entire generation, at least in the way that I'm looking at things right now. So I think that's kind of a comparison I make.
Yeah, and I don't think that there won't, like, I'm pretty sure Xbox does have some India, like they, at least with ID at Xbox, that's really where you see these types of investments have. Like that
Mhm.
team goes all over the world and gets teams from Africa and smaller countries all the time to bring their games to light. In terms of like AA, AAA, I think Xbox is kind of holding off on that for right now.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, that will do it for this week's episode. Sam, can you let everyone know where they can find you, my friend? The man who has now passed 30,000 subscribers on his YouTube. I saw.
You know it,
Congratulations.
man. Yeah, we're coming up on 30K on TikTok, 30K on YouTube, so things are rolling right along. And yeah, you can find me over there, and then on Instagram and Threads. I'm always having a good time, talking to people online and just having a good time talking about games. I don't know. It's been a really, really good summer. I'm excited to do a little vlogging at Southeast Game Exchange and just kind of, get to run into Retro Rick and the people that we watch. I know the collectors, the Pixel Game Squad, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, met Jay's 2 cents last week at Micro Center. That was a big deal for me. So it's been a great summer, and I'm happy to be sharing it online.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Everyone, make sure you check out Sam if you haven't. I don't know why you wouldn't. Makes awesome content over there.
Appreciate it.
But you can find me at the Muffin Mon on social media, X, if you want to call it that, Threads. Posting a little more over there these days. To 1 and 7, I, O and 7A. Follow us at Save Game Media. Stay up to date with all the latest content. Until next week, we'll see you.